Hello everyone, welcome back. Let's quickly go through the agenda for day 5. We are going to learn how to set up SonarQube and then integrate with Jenkins for automating code quality check in our CICD job. That's exactly what we are going to learn as part of today's lecture. So let's quickly go through the agenda. So we will learn what is SonarQube and what is the architecture behind it, and then how we can set up SonarQube on Ubuntu EC2 instance, and then how we can integrate SonarQube from Jenkins. And we will learn how we can automate static code analysis from our Jenkins CICD job. And then we also going to cover some bonus lecture as well, especially when you are configuring Jenkins on EC2 instance running in AWS free tier. Whenever you are stopping and restarting your EC2 instance, you may be noticing that Jenkins is performing slow. We're going to talk about how we can actually fix it. Okay, so we will also cover that as part of today's lecture as well. Awesome. So let's get started, guys. So before we start setting up SonarQube, let's try to understand where we stand as part of CICD implementation. So if you see here, we have already configured Jenkins, we have already configured Tomcat, we also configured our Java project inside the GitHub, and we also have configured a basic freestyle job as part of previous lecture in order to automate the build, automate the deployment, and automate code coverage check using Jackerco, right? So today we are going to extend our CICD implementation by setting up SonarQube on brand new EC2 instance, and then we are going to automate static code analysis. So now let's try to understand what SonarQube is all about. So what is SonarQube? So SonarQube is open source static code analysis tool. Using SonarQube, you can detect bugs, you can detect basic vulnerabilities. If code have any issues or code smells, those can be captured during SonarQube scan. But what do you mean by static code analysis? So static code analysis is nothing but SonarQube have the capability to read the source code as it is, and then it can find all these bugs and all these code smells and vulnerabilities. It is not going to execute the code, but it is going to read the source code as it is, and then it can find bugs in your source code. And then SonarQube can scan as many programming languages. I think it can scan about 21 different programming languages and then frameworks. And SonarQube can be integrated with various CICD tools such as Jenkins or Azure DevOps or GitHub Actions, and then many other CICD tools. So let's try to understand the SonarQube architecture. So if you look at this diagram, so you have a scanner which is going to scan your source code, and then it is going to identify bugs in the source code. And then you have your SonarQube server. Your SonarQube server has 3 major components. You have web server, which is going to handle your user interface, and then it will also handle any kind of API calls. So this will also kind of handle that. And then you have a compute engine which is going to get the data from the scanner, and then it will process the data. And then you have a search server. So after the compute engine performs the scan, whatever the results, so the search server will actually index those results. Okay. And then you also have a database server. So that is mainly for persisting all the data. And database server can be Microsoft SQL Server or PostgreSQL Server or Oracle database server, right? So that's a very simple architecture behind SonarQube. So now let's try to understand how you can integrate with Jenkins. And then what is a typical workflow? So basically, whenever developer commits the code into version control system, you have your CICD server configured that is going to trigger the build, and then it would integrate with SonarQube. So we have to install SonarQube plugin in Jenkins in order to integrate SonarQube. And then SonarQube is going to scan your source code, and then it will create the scan report which can be shared with the developer for corrective action. And then, like I said, you have a persistent layer, right? So whenever you are going to configure SonarQube, you also need to configure along with the proper database where all the analysis results can be stored. So it's a very simple architecture. It's not really complicated. All right. So now let's get started on setting up SonarQube. Let's say you are given an assignment of configuring SonarQube and then integrating SonarQube with your CICD workflow. So how would you do that? That's exactly what I'm going to demonstrate. So how do you approach the installation? So let me guys take you to Google search, type SonarQube download. So you got various results. So let's click on this one. Wow, do you all see here? So SonarQube have 4 different variations, but we are going to configure the free and open source one. So we are going to install community version. Okay. And then these 3 versions are obviously, paid versions. So, but we would be focusing on this one. And then, like I said, SonarQube can scan about 21 different languages and frameworks, right? So it can detect bugs, basic vulnerabilities in the code, and it can be integrated with any kind of, any popular CICD tool. So if you wanted to download a community version, you can click on download for free. So which would immediately download the zip file or tar file, which I don't recommend. So there are so many ways you can configure SonarQube. So let's click on installation requirements. There you go. So like I said, you can use any one of the database engine, right? And then of course, SonarQube can be configured on, pretty much any operating system. And then if you look at the pre-installation steps, so look at the Linux installation steps, right? So we have to make sure that, we take care of this one. So this is actually nothing but virtual memory settings. So this needs to be configured. So before we start our installation, so we will actually take care of this particular step. And then if you look at various installation type, so let's just click on maybe developer. Yeah, there you go. You see here. So there are various ways you can actually install SonarQube. You can install from a zip file. Again, this is all manual steps. Basically, you'll have to install Java. You'll have to, download SonarQube, zip file, and then you'll have to extract. There are a lot of, manual steps you'll have to do. But we are going to use Docker, right? So we are going to install SonarQube using a Docker image. But we are not going to perform all these manual commands. Okay, so we are going to use something called Docker Compose, which is given over here. You can see here. So we are going to use this Docker Compose file. So using this file, we are going to go ahead and then configure SonarQube. And then you can see here, this is a sample Docker Compose file given by SonarQube website itself. So they are actually using PostgreSQL, which is an open source database engine. Okay, let's go ahead and then get started. So if you look at the prerequisite, yes, we need to have Ubuntu 22.04 and we need to have 4 gigabytes of memory. So that's very important. And then we have to open port number 9000. That's a default port number for SonarQube. And then like I mentioned, we have to make sure that, the instance have proper virtual memory configured. So we will also do that as well. Okay. So I'm going to take you guys to AWS cloud and then let's go ahead and then provision brand new EC2 instance. Okay, so let me take you guys to AWS console. So let's click on launch instance. I'm going to say SonarQube, Ubuntu 22.04, perfect. And then as I told you all, we have to go with at least 4 gigabytes of memory, perfect. And I'm going to use one of my existing keys. And the default port number for SonarQube is port number 9000. So let's open that. Okay. And then let me have at least 18 gigabytes of memory. Let me do GP3. Perfect. Click on launch instance. Awesome. So let me take you guys to Git Bash. So let me open my iTerm here. I'm already in a downloads directory. So let's try to connect to the new EC2 instance, which we just provisioned. Click on connect. Awesome. Perfect. So now let's start our installations. So I'm going to first start with, setting up the virtual memory configuration, right? So you open that system configuration file, go all the way to the end of the file by pressing down arrow button, right? And then let's add these 2 entries. Okay, that's it. and then Control O, enter, Control X. So I'm actually using Nano Editor, but feel free to use the editor of your choice. So now we made some system level configuration changes. In order for the changes to taken into effect, we'll have to perform that command. So there you go. So basically I don't want to restart the EC2 instance. So this is like a shortcut. Perfect. So now let's quickly go ahead and then change the host name, right? Okay, so let me do that. Perfect. And then in order for the changes to take into effect, I'm going to come out of it, log back again. Perfect. Very good. So now let's start with the sudo apt update. And then we are going to go ahead and then, install Docker Compose. So why are we using Docker Compose, right? So using Docker Compose, you can install containers, right? So using Docker Compose, you can run multi-container based applications, okay? So if you look at our SonarQube Docker Compose file, we have actually two different container, right? So you see that this is one container. This is the SonarQube, application, right? And then this is your Postgres database container. So basically we are kind of, running these two containers in same EC2 instance. So basically, if you're using Docker Compose, you don't have to execute multiple Docker commands, right? It's kind of a Docker CLI. You create this configuration file, it's going to execute, your Docker commands one by one, right? So all you have to do is, just create this single Docker Compose file. That's it. All right. Okay. So I just did the update. Let me start with the Docker Compose installation. And then we are going to create this Docker Compose file. So I already told you all where I got that file from. You can easily get that from SonarQube website. So let me open that Docker Compose file. So let's go ahead and then copy all the entries over here. So what are we trying to do? So we are going to use SonarQube community version, right? So from where do you think the image will be actually downloaded? The image will be downloaded from Docker Hub. Same thing with PostgreSQL. So if I can take you to Docker Hub, so you all can see, right? So this is the official Docker image for SonarQube. So this is what we are trying to download. And then you can see various supported tags, right? So we are trying to download one of the community version. All right. And then similarly for PostgreSQL, there you go. So you can see here, right? So we are trying to download one of the Docker images from here. Okay, and then of course you can see the various tags and so on. Perfect. So if you try to understand this file, so basically what this will do is this will connect with PostgreSQL using this username and this password, and then it will create a database called Sonar in PostgreSQL. Okay, and then you can see how it is going to connect, right? And then this also has volume attached. So this is where, the data will be persisted, and then that's the port number, right? So that's it. So now let's try to save this file. So now I'm going to go ahead and then run a Docker Compose command. So if you see here, I'm saying sudo Docker Compose up -d. So -d stands for it is going to run in the detached mode. Press enter. So there you go, guys. So right now it is in the process of downloading the Docker image. So you can clearly see here, it downloaded the PostgreSQL Docker image. It is also right now currently downloading the SonarQube Docker image. As soon as both the images are downloaded, it will go ahead and then run these two containers. Awesome. So let's quickly see the Docker containers are running or not. Let me say sudo docker ps. So there you go. So we can clearly see here. So two containers are running, isn't it? Let me clear the screen. And then let me also find out if we are able to see the logs. Okay. There you go. So right now you can see here, it is trying to bring up those two containers, mainly the SonarQube Docker container. It's going to take some time in order to bring them up. And we can also check in the browser to see SonarQube is up and running. Not yet, I guess. There you go. See, we got this message. It says that SonarQube is operational. So let's go to the browser, copy the SonarQube public DNS name, put it in the browser, :9000. So as you can see now, SonarQube is trying to come up. So the default username and password for logging into SonarQube is admin, and it is immediately asking you to change the password. So let's give some sensible password. Awesome. There you go, guys. So that is our community version of the SonarQube, which is actually up and running. So click on later, click on dismiss. Wonderful, right? And you can also see here, this is a community version. Perfect. So now what is the next step? So the next step is to integrate SonarQube with Jenkins. So how do you do that? So for that, you have to be admin, right? So I already logged in as administrator. So go to administration tab and go to security users. So we have to create some token. So do you all see here? Or you can also go to administrator, click on my account, go to security. There you go. See, you can also create token here as well. So let me enter a token name. I'm going to say Jenkins Sonar integration token and global analysis. And then again, depending on the password policy, you can keep however you want, 30 days, 90 days, but I'm okay with 30 days. Click on generate. There you go. So this is the token, right, for SonarQube. So make sure that, you copy this, in a secure place, because you wouldn't be able to see this again. So if you think that your token is compromised, you can, delete the token. You can see here, right? You can revoke the token and then you can recreate the new token. Okay. All right. So now let's try to bring up Jenkins. Okay. So as you can see here, Jenkins is really acting up. So remember I talked about how to fix Jenkins slowness issue whenever you use EC2 instance running in the AWS cloud. So let me show you how we can actually resolve that issue. Let me quickly connect to Jenkins through item here. Okay. So basically, what is the reason? So let me quickly show you. Let's go to Jenkins installation directory. And then if you see here, there's a file which has the Jenkins URL. Okay. So that is nothing but this particular file. So if we try to bring up that file, there's a file called jenkins.model.jenkins location configuration file. So if you see here, it is actually pointing to the old DNS name, right? But if you look at our current, DNS name is this one. So whenever you are using AWS free tier and whenever you are using EC2 instance, if you stop and restart, the DNS name changes, right? So you'll have to make sure that, you update this file in order to point to the current DNS name. All right. So let me save this file. And then in order for the changes to take into effect, you will have to restart Jenkins service. So let me quickly do that. Awesome. So Jenkins is back online now. So since I have restarted, I have to log back again. So now I'm going to show you how we can integrate SonarQube with Jenkins. So let's go to manage Jenkins. The first thing what we have to do is install plugins. So go to plugins, click on available plugin, search for SonarQube. There you go. So that is the plugin that we have to install. Click on install. And you don't have to restart Jenkins service. Let's click on Jenkins again. Now go to system and you all see the SonarQube section. Under manage Jenkins system, click on add SonarQube. So this is where we are going to start registering SonarQube information. So let's give some sensible name. I'm going to say SonarQube. I'm going to give like something like my SonarQube, and it is asking for the URL that is actually nothing but SonarQube URL. So don't put anything after port number 9000, and it is asking for the token. So we already have token created. Add Jenkins. Click on kind as secret text. Put in the token, and then here you can say Sonar token added. Click on add. Most importantly, select that from the drop down. Great. That's it, right? And then make sure you also select this environment variables as well. Click on apply and save. So that's it, right? So now we have registered SonarQube information in Jenkins. The next step is, go ahead and then start integrating from Jenkins job. So I'm going to go back to the same job that I have already configured. So click on configure. Okay, everything else is good. Okay, so what you have to do is we have to add Maven goal for SonarQube. So we are going to add sonar:sonar. So this is the Maven goal for integrating with SonarQube. And then we also need to click on prepare SonarQube scanner environment. You don't have to select anything from the dropdown, that is fine. And then since we are going to install our application inside Tomcat server, that DNS name also different. So let me pick up the Tomcat EC2 instance latest URL as well. Make sure it is coming up. Fantastic. So copy that. Let's go ahead and then put that. Fine. So apply and save. If you want, you can go ahead and then click on build now. Or if you wanted to kickstart the build through your code changes, let's go back to our source code. So you all remember, right? We have already downloaded our source code in this EC2 instance, and I'm going to open this file and then make changes. But before I start making code changes, let's make sure how this Jenkins job is configured in order to trigger the build. Go to triggers. So you can see here the way this job would be triggered is through webhooks. Okay, so now let me go back to my GitHub repository. So this is my repository. Go back to settings of the repository, go to webhooks. I know we already configured webhook as part of our previous lecture, but let's just make sure, since we are using AWS free tier, the EC2 instance URL would have got changed. So let's actually edit this. So let's modify our URL. Let's update our URL to the latest Jenkins URL. There you go. Okay, so click on update, and you can also verify whether your configuration is correct or not. So you can click on the three dots, click on redeliver, click on yes, I deliver. So what this will do is this will just make sure, it will make a quick API call. It will just make sure the URL is up to date. There you go. And we already got response 200. So this confirms that our webhook configuration is good. So now let me go back to the code. So now let me quickly make a code change. What I'm going to say is with SonarQube for automating static code analysis. So let me save this. Git status. You all know the drill, correct? Git commit, git add, git add, git commit, and then I'm going to perform, and I'm going to provide a commit message. So perform git add and then git commit. I'm going to say performing code analysis and then git push. So as soon as I make a code push, So as soon as I make a code change, so Jenkins should be able to check out the code. There you go. You already see in the build queue, right? Awesome. So it is downloading, respective plugin for integrating with SonarQube. You can clearly see here. It is, communicating with SonarQube. You can see here, this is a SonarQube version. It is loading all the plugins, all the rules. Perfect. Wow. So the job got success, and you can also see that over here as well. You can click on here. Wow. You can also go back to projects. There you go. Let me expand. Let me zoom in. Wow. Do you all see here, guys? So click on the repo. So click on the project name. Wow. Do you all see here? So click on the project name. So now it says that, and you can see here, it has like 3 defects, right? So this is the Maven project name, right? So 47 seconds ago, this got scanned, and currently it says that there are 3 issues. So click on the project name. Okay. And overall code, it says that there are 3 open issues. So let's click on this one. Let's find out what they are. So you can see here, this is the source code name, right? Index.jsp. It says that there are 3 potential bugs. So let's try to understand that. So click on this one. So click on the first defect. And this also tells you where is this issue, why this is issue, correct? So when you click on why this is an issue, it will tell you very clearly that, what is the problem with the code. And you can see here, it says that this is non-compliant and how you can actually fix it, right? So this says that you don't have a title tag. So let's find out, right? So let's go back to our index.jsp, which we just committed earlier. There you go, guys. You see here, it's a very easy fix, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the complaint solution, which is under why this is an issue. I'm going to just make a minor code change. But please be aware, all these code changes are done by a development team, right? Not by you. This is done by a developers who was responsible for that particular code, right? Or for that particular application development. So let's go back to the second issue. And again, this also tells you, if you go back to why this is an issue, it says that first of all, you don't have this, doc type declaration, right? And that's a non-compliant, and this is a compliant. All you have to do is just add this in the very first line. Okay. So let's do that. Fantastic. And then let's also go back and then, make sure the third issue also got resolved, right? So let's take a look at this one. Why this is an issue? This says that, this does not have, these metadata, right? Value. Okay, great. So let's get that as well. So I think what you can do is, I think it says the language is missing. Maybe you can add this. Fantastic. All right. So now let me save this file. I'm going to say, let me clear the screen. So I'm going to say git add and git commit fixed 3 defects. And then I'm going to go ahead and then say git push. So as soon as I make the code change, the way we have configured Jenkins is to trigger the Jenkins build job instantly, right? So let's just verify that. Okay, so you can see here, the job is running right now. Fantastic. And you can also see the latest commit message, right? Fantastic. Let's see. Okay. So now let's check up our SonarQube dashboard. Click on projects. Wow. Do you all see here, guys? Quality gate passed. Overall code, no issues. Isn't it? And then you can see here, a few minutes ago, we had like 3 defects. Our current build has 0 defects. So yeah, that's how, guys, that's how you can integrate SonarQube with Jenkins. So I hope this lecture was really useful. I'm really looking forward to see you all in the next video. Thank you so much.